Across the Whale Road we go. Astrid, now 13, rides a squall in a workboat, shakes a slaver scout, and lands in Whitcliffe where ink does the dirty work. A ledger names the cages: Helga at Rook's Gate, Vidar at Harrowmere. One quiet con later, two captives slip out through a culvert, and then an arrow hisses into the beam above Astrid, west wall. Moonrise. A rope drops from the slats. Do you climb? This is episode 5, Into Harold's Teeth, written by Brian M. Brumbaugh, narrated by Lilly Smith. Let's begin. The shed crouched where marsh gave way to sand, and sand bargained with the tide. An upturned clinker-built hull slept under browning thatch, ribs sharp as a lean animal's. Tar and salt lived in the air, so did old argument. A boatwright's place is always a court, where wood and water try their cases. Sten's driftwood token bought them 10 words. The next 100 were paid in coin and patience. The boatwright, Hallkel to the Norse Halk to hurried Saxons, had a beard like kelp and a temper like a tide. He eyed Eric, the token, and the boat, weighing all three. "You'll take her and drown," he said, which in boatwright meant, "I built her sound and you don't deserve her." "The sea's wrong most weeks," Eric said. "We're still here, let us prove her right." Coin clinked, rope changed hands. Eric offered tarred hemp like a blessing. Hallkel's eyes softened. "Better," he said, and Sten said, "A story that warms winter," Eric finished. "Bring my boat home," Hallkel said, "or bring the story." With a practiced shove, he levered the hull upright, 6 oars, a square sail, a stout partner for the mast, a working craft built for fishermen and for people who know work isn't a smaller word than war. Astrid ran her palm along the strakes, black tar under her nails already marking her as belonging. The boat smelled of pine pitch and patience. "She has a name?" she asked. "Not one I've told," Hallkel said. "Boats don't like introductions from men with big tongues. I'll call her Svala in my head," Astrid whispered. "Swallow, small but sure." "Don't tell her," Hallkel advised. They worked, rags on oarlocks, gear stowed neat. Eric checked the mast step thrice, knots, clove hitches, reef points ready. Gunner's big hands tied them with quiet care. Astrid practiced until her palms ached. They launched on the ebb, Hallkel wading to his thighs to steady the bow. Eric took the stern, Astrid and Ivar the forward oars, Gunnar amidships. "Catch, pull, low and long," Eric said. "Oars kiss water, don't punch it." They found rhythm, wood dipping, shoulders metronomic, the marsh slipping behind. At the bar where river met sea, Eric shifted to the steering oar. "Hold your seats," he said. "Land makes promises the sea doesn't keep." By afternoon, Norway was a smear behind them. The sea taught how wind shifts make sails sulk or sing, how knees bend to the swell, how shadows on water mean trouble or luck. Astrid learned fast, her hands burning, her stomach fighting but losing to the horizon. By dusk, the scout boat appeared, low, dark, a crooked white spiral on its shield. Too far to fight, too close to ignore. "We make ourselves small," Eric said. The sail flattened, their pace slowed. Night brought stars and a sharper wind. When the squall hit, it hit without warning. Wind slapped the sail, the boat heeled hard. Gunner's knife freed a fouled line. Astrid bailed in a rhythm like prayer. Then the squall passed, leaving them wet, sore, and still afloat. Eric turned north into the kelp-beds, tricky water Hallkel had warned of. The keel whispered sand, but only once. The scout didn't follow. By dawn the loom of land showed itself, a low, stubborn shadow. Britain. They made the last miles cautious and quiet, slipping up a narrow creek where reeds hid the boat. Gear stowed, mast down, Svala disappeared into the marsh. Astrid stepped onto Britain with knees bent and pride tight. The ground felt wrong after so much considerate water, but she'd learn. People always do. Eric glanced inland, where thin smoke hinted at strangers and arrangements. "Quiet," he said, "questions, and we find the people who think peace is a good business." They left Svala hidden between ribs and reeds, the sea breathing behind them, the road waiting ahead. They walked out of the reeds with marsh on their boots, and the sea at their backs. The world shrinking from water noise to the smaller sounds of a country getting on with itself. Wind through salt grass, a gull scolding nothing, the wooden clap of a loose shutter. Eric set their shapes to harmless, axes belted, not carried, spears slung like a staff, shields shouldered. Astrid pulled a plain hood from the pack, tucking away the last shine of salt. Her shield's rim peered above her shoulder like a quiet thought. Feet, Eric said, nodding at the first strip of firm ground. Land lies too. Learn the new lies. They followed a rutted lane towards smoke smelling of fish and wet wood. Huts appeared, thatch combed by sea wind, racks of split herring leaning like tired men. Nets hung to dry, patched in 100 colors where hands had confessed old mistakes. A woman stood in the yard, wrists bright with fish scales, hair bound in a kerchief, eyes sharp. She measured them in a glance. Eric's size, Gunnar's shoulders, Ivar's restless spear hand, Astrid's hood hiding but not hiding her youth. Then went back to her knife. Eric approached, palms up. Bread and questions, he said, and coin for both. Bread is free if you've brought work, she said. Saxon softened by coast. Questions cost more. They make people point after you're gone. Then we'll leave a better thing to point at, Eric said, nodding toward a sagging net. She gave him a long look, then pointed with her chin. There's the other end. Drop it, and you'll learn new words in 2 languages. They worked, Gunnar taking the heavy belly, Ivar checking knots, Astrid lifting in rhythm with the woman so water ran clean. Eric shouldered the worst of it, and made the labor look like choice. When the fish were laid, the woman wiped her hands on a rag too far gone to ever be clean. I'm Oldith, she said. If you're here to buy fish, you're early. If you're here to sell trouble, you're too late. We've got that already. Neither, Eric said. We're hunting people. Men with black shields and white spirals took them. We were told the coast remembers who goes where. Oldith's mouth thinned. Coast remembers, she said. More than it can change. Her gaze shifted to Astrid. Whose? My parents, Astrid said. Helga and Vidar, taken, ferried south. Last words said Whitcliffe. Whitcliffe if you like cliffs, Oldith said. Whitecliff if you like chalk. Old river town with a quay that looks away. If you must walk into it, do it with eyes low and ears open. The reeve runs the counting and lets the wrong men rent a ledger. Ink, Eric murmured, and Astrid felt the quiet agreement. Ink meant trail. Aldith pointed toward a path cut through the sedge. Whitcliffe's 3 miles that way if you're bold. 5 if you're clever and take the dike. The kiln smells like teeth. You'll know you're close. She showed Eric the tide marks on her board. Go now and you've 2 hours before the ferry road is river again. She took less coin than he offered. Work pays most. And keep your hood up in town, she told Astrid. They like to make girls part of sums. Astrid nodded. If I have to be in a ledger, she said, I'll be the page that goes missing. Aldith's mouth softened. Good. And if anyone asks, no one sent you. They followed the dike inland. Wet peat to one side, poor pasture to the other. Whitcliffe announced itself with smells first, yeast, tar, smoke, and too many people. The kiln hunched like a toothache. The river bent wide for boats loading fish and barrels pretending to be barrels. Eyes low. Ivar murmured. They slipped into town with practiced anonymity. Eric and Gunnar, heavy-shouldered, forgettable men. Ivar already gone to the roofs. Astrid smaller, hood angled just so. The key was a long argument between men who worked and men who didn't. Here and there the spiral mark, white curl over black, crude and fast. Astrid counted, then stopped counting aloud. Eric played the harmless buyer, overpaying for dried eel. Gunnar chewed and looked lazy. Ivar disappeared. Then came the beating, a thin boy curled in shadow. A man with a ring badge teaching him the price of mistakes while another watched, bored. Astrid stepped, hot with anger. Eric's hand stopped her. Words first, he murmured. He walked into the shadow. Friend, he said, you're bruising where you need him to lift. The man sneered. He cost me a ledger page, he'll pay with hide. Astrid slid her shield between arm and blow. Gunnar pinned the man's elbows with casual strength. Ivar's spearbutt taught the watcher better habits. Eric crouched to the boy. Breathe, he said. Slow, to the man, new plan. You'll dock your voice, pay your fine by not being dead. The man understood odds. Name, Eric asked the boy. Seol, he whispered. You do errands? Seol nodded. Then do one now. Tell me where the reeve keeps his paper teeth. Seol hesitated. Astrid pushed her hood back just enough for him to see her age. My parents, she said. Spirals. We're trying to count them back. Something in the boy shifted. Ledger house by the fish market, he whispered. Second drawer, box with the seal. Clerk's name is Leofwine. Guard with a bad knee plays dice at noon. Owes a sailor named Whitcliffe. Eric pressed coin and a strip of fish into his hand. Wash your face. If anyone asks, tell them a door argued with you. They walked away, invisible again. The ledger house sulked at the market's edge, shutters angled to keep out eyes. Inside, the clerk's quill scratched like a nervous insect. Gunnar distracted him with a knock and false cheer. Eric slid in when the door opened, Astrid on his heels. The ledger lay open. Astrid's quick hand found the page. Helga, Rook's Gate, Vidar, Harrowmere Yard, the boy, sold inland. They left 2 coins on the desk and silence behind them. Seol waited in an alley, restless as river water. Rook's Gate west wall, he said. Harrowmere Yard south. Evening's best. Dice at the gate, whistles at the yard. Astrid clasped his arm. You're good, she said. You too, Seol muttered. Keep your hood up. At a tavern, Gunnar turned Whitcliffe stets into favours while Ivar sketched the town from the roofs. Eric boiled it down to a plan. Gate first, then yard. Helga before Vidar. Astrid breathed the names like compass points. Dusk bled across Whitcliffe. Shadows lengthened, the town shifted to its nighttime face. Astrid touched the small hoard beneath her tunic. Stone, strings, scrap, and pulled her hood low. Dusk, Eric said, standing. We go see whether this town knows how to look away. The gate waited. The yard waited. And between them, a plan that would either hold or cut. The day bent toward evening in that slow, guilty way towns have, when the counting's nearly done, and the lies need tidying. Whitcliffe's quay quieted. Nets rolled, scales sluiced, chalk-dusted men brushed white storms from their shirts. In the lee of a tar-black warehouse, a gull tore at a crab and left with the opinion that nothing on land was as honest as a wave. Eric let the town half forget them, then changed their shapes. Gunnar's axe went to Eric's belt, making him look like a man rich enough to rent danger. Gunnar took a short cudgel, a bodyguard's bruise-maker. Ivar vanished to the roofline, a rumour sliding along the kiln smoke. Astrid hunched low, braid hidden, shoulders rounded to pass for a servant instead of a spear. They moved through the quay's throat into a street meant for business quieter than fish. A chalk spiral, white on black, scarred the planks of a low house with half-shut doors. A guard leaned there, knees stiff in the weather, an iron ring stitched on his chest like a cheap badge. Gunnar nodded, all false kinship. Evening. Business good? The man measured Gunnar's wrists, Eric's purse, Astrid's hood, and the price of being bribed. Could be, he said. Gunnar rolled a knucklebone and dropped 2 coins into his hand. The guard leaned aside, and Eric slipped past as if nothing had happened, because officially, nothing had. Inside, a long room of pens and narrow aisles, the air thick with tar, chalk, sweat, and the kind of fear that tries to be boring. Crates built lanes, a ledger table crouched under a window, quill ready, sand waiting to dry dangerous words. At the far end 3 men talked with quiet greed. One, neat in wool and knife, smelled of ink and profit, factor, not fighter. Another, a local, puffed with borrowed pride. The third wore his danger plane, black shield strapped, white spiral painted bold, scarred neck, crop soldier's hair, short mail under leather, Wulfric spiral. Eric drifted to a clerk, letting his purse flash like teeth. 2 for haulage, he said, lazy accent over Norse. 1 for oars, a week, maybe 2. No trouble in my yard, the clerk bit. Town goods or road goods? Quiet backs, Eric said. Rope hands. Then look, the clerk said, chin jerking at the pens. Factor Osric does weights, Wulfric does weather. Don't get caught in his wind. Astrid slipped loose from Eric's shadow and became a draft in the room. Hoods are good for that. Faces turn into opinions no one wants to have. 8 bodies in the pens. 2 men with river shoulders, a woman with fresh rope burns, a boy 2 years younger than Astrid, a crooked-backed man, 2 with that empty, dangerous calm of trapped wolves, and 1 already gone elsewhere in his mind. She moved quick but quiet, eyes catching details, rope thickness, weak chain links, careless knots. At the far end, a crate half open. She crouched, fingers reading what eyes couldn't. A bowstring coiled neat. An archer's glove, fingers hardened, 3 fletched arrows, tied with Helga's double-wrap knot. Salt burned behind her eyes. She traced the knot, slipped 1 arrow into her cloak, coiled the bowstring into the hidden pocket where bead and stone already lived. Voices approached. Astrid sank behind a crate, still as shadow. The reeves pass, the factor murmured. The reeve issues paper. Wulfric's voice, thick with contempt. I issue wagons. They leave at moonrise from Rook's gate. Tell him that. Moonrise, Osric agreed. Rook's gate holds tonight, then Harrowmere. You don't pay to keep cages full. Wulfric's boots paused near her crate. His hand pressed the far side, big and scarred. Everything stinks of fish, he muttered. A kingdom that smells of fish needs enemies to feel important. Then they walked on. Astrid counted 60, then 30 more, before rising. The room had settled back into its ordinary evil. She drifted to Eric and Gunnar, posture casual but voice small. Moonrise, Rook's gate. Then Harrowmere. Eric's nostrils flared. Good. Plans like fixed points. Helga's fletching, she whispered. Gunnar's jaw worked. Eric only nodded. Seal, Eric said. Second drawer, Astrid murmured. Already checked, Ivar breathed from nowhere. Osric's tallies will do. Lead tags, they hang them on crates, wrists, anything that doesn't argue. Then we take 1, Eric said. At the tally bench, the young clerk counted tags with the dead-eyed comfort of habit. Eric leaned on the bench, voice easy. How many in the West Pen? 3, the clerk said, reaching for his book. Eric's hand stopped him. Astrid's fingers worked quick and quiet. 2 tags lifted, 3 clinked. A spare strip vanished into her sleeve. Your numbers are a comfort, Eric said, and moved on. As they passed, Wulfric's gaze walked across Eric, then paused briefly on Astrid's hood before moving on. Your girl's young, he said. Servant, Eric replied, bored. Wulfric's smile curled. The sea pays better when it takes. I prefer to keep what I lift, Eric said, and the moment passed. Outside, night climbed the walls. The guard with the stiff knee pretended not to nod as they left. In a quiet lane, Eric checked Astrid's face for cracks, and found none. You heard it. Proof, Moonrise, she said. Rook's gate. Then Harrowmere. They laid out their stolen tools, lead tags, spare strip, wax, soot. Ivar pressed a clean impression. Astrid tied a breakaway loop Helga would have approved. Dusk deepened. The street turned blue, Rook's gate throwing long shadows. Listen, Eric said, and they did, footsteps, dice, laughter. Seal appeared, a moth in the light. Master of Keys is drunk, he whispered. The man on the west tower yawns on the 3rd count, and 1 guard owes Bricktolf a coin. He'll take a walk if Bricktolf takes a walk. Good, Eric said. Seal's eyes flicked to Astrid's arrow. Is it hers? It is, Astrid said, and it will be again. At the gate, dice skittered on a crate table, laughter sharp with losing. Eric held up the tag. Pass, he said, calm as weather. The Master of Keys squinted. Gates shut without the Reeves paper, then argue with Wulfric Spiral, Eric said, letting the tag clink on iron. That did it. The small door opened. Inside, the yard was a narrow thumb of space, a cart grounded, a lantern trying to pretend it made rules. Astrid named her truths, tag in hand, gate open, Helga near, Vidar father, moon not yet up. Ivar's whisper drifted from above, 2 inside, 1 asleep, 1 bored. Bolt high. Key turns clean. Eric lifted the latch. Astrid felt the arrow under her cloak and thought, clear as a promise, we came to write a different line in the ledger. And the night held its breath to see which way the knot would pull. The latch lifted like a breath held too long. Eric eased the door open, 1 hand, then 2, then enough for a man with a promise to fit through. Lantern light flattened the space, timber walls sweating damp, straw in tired humps, a bucket not yet bad enough to gag. Metal spoke in the low voice locks use when they think they're in charge. 2 guards, just as Seal said. 1 asleep, jaw slack, keys heavy in his lap. The other leaned on a post, spear held like a broom, bored into meanness. His gaze found Eric filling the doorway. Transfer, Eric said lazily, flashing the lead tag and yawning like a man too used to the routine to care. Paper? The guard asked out of habit. Wagon at MOONRISE, Eric replied. Reeves pass in the yard. Osric will kiss it after he kisses his own reflection. The guards smirked at the jab. Men like him are paid to hate Osric. Which 2? Left pens. Woman first, then the riverman. The boy stays. The guard roused his partner with a boot. Keys clinked. Astrid slipped into the shadows along the wall, heart steady and quiet. Under her cloak, the arrow from the warehouse pressed against her ribs like a vow. The first lock stuck until the guards swore it open. A woman rose from the straw without a sound, hair dimmed by dust, rope burns around her wrists. Her eyes met Astrid's, quick, sharp, steady. Hands, the guard said, reaching. Don't bother, Eric cut in, holding up the tag. Strap her for the cart outside. We'll change lashings there. His boredom was sharp enough to make the man lower his hands. The second pen opened to a broad-shouldered man built by river and net. He stood slow, careful, flinching at Gunnar the way men do around violence they've seen used wrong. Move, the guard said. Above, Ivar's whisper slid through the slats. 1 more in the right pen, not ours, not tonight, Eric breathed. Clean work. Astrid slipped beside the woman, matching her pace. Outside, the yard took their shapes as fact. 1 man with a tag, 2 captives, and a guard too busy losing at dice to look twice. The Master of Keys cursed a bad roll. Gunnar flanked the riverman, easy and quiet. Astrid dropped her hood, hiding in plain sight, keeping the woman close. At the gate, Bricktolf limped by, coin changing hands, and the guard he owned looked the other way. Left, Eric murmured. Then right. Culvert. In the shadowed court, the culvert breathed damp secrets. Ivar dropped beside them without a sound. Gunnar braced the riverman against a wall. We'll cut you loose, he said evenly. Run loud, die loud. Run quiet. Live longer than most. The woman turned her wrists to Astrid without prompting. Astrid slid her knife under the cord. The false loop fell away cleanly. No sound. The woman flexed her hands but didn't waste pain on a moan. Name? Astrid whispered. Solveig, the woman said, voice raw steel. From over water, cut a man who needed cutting. Would again. Astrid, she answered. Enough, Eric said gently. Feet now, questions later. Ivar measured the culvert, 1 at a time. Follow the stink of tide. Solveig slipped in like a seal. The riverman followed, cursing until the bend swallowed him. Astrid wiped her blade clean. We're not done, she whispered. No, Eric said. But doing good while looking like we're doing something else buys luck. Or less stupidity, Ivar muttered. Footsteps, Gunnar warned. The warehouse watcher appeared, rubbing the bruise Ivar had left. He lingered, suspicious, then turned back toward laughter and dice. Now? Astrid asked. Not a storm, Eric said. A stitch. We'll come back with better thread. I hate leaving Helga, she whispered. I do too, Eric said. The thunk came without warning, an arrow burying itself in the beam above Astrid's head. The fletching, 3 feathers double-wrapped, leather kinked, made her chest tighten. Helga. No alarm, no faces turning, just a message angled to warn, not harm. Slow, Eric breathed. Astrid eased the arrow free, reading the carved words. West wall, MOONRISE. She knows we're here, Astrid whispered. She knows what we need, Eric said, some hardness in him loosening. Ivar traced the scratches, reverent. They didn't take her blade. They wouldn't know what to take, Gunnar muttered. Eric nodded. We hide the freed ones, sleep, and come to the west wall at MOONRISE. Helga goes first. And Harrowmere? Gunnar asked. Harrowmere waits, Eric said. They threaded through town like needles. Seol appeared, silent and watchful. Astrid showed him the arrow, his smile held ache and belief. Aldith opened her door without being asked. She took the captives in, hid them under the racks. If anyone asks, you're salted cod. If I make a noise that sounds like soup, run. If not, wait for the wind. Solveig's mouth tipped. You're my kind. I'm everyone's kind when trouble brings rope, Aldith said briskly. Eric pressed coin into her palm. She pushed half back. Work paid most. Don't get dead. We're trying to take turns with the dying, Gunnar said. They left as night settled. The wall loomed dark, the dike quiet. Eric studied each of them. Gunnar, Ivar, Astrid. MOONRISE dresses the wall for us, he said. Clean in, cleaner out. No noise that isn't a door. No heroics that aren't useful. Astrid leads to where the letter's named. Ivar climbs. Gunnar talks dice into empty hands. I make the tag sing? Astrid nodded. The arrow pressed warm along her ribs. Feet, she said. Feet, Eric answered, a blessing. They slept a few hours, then moved like shadows. The town was quiet, the west wall kept its own weather. Astrid stepped to the spot Helga had marked. A rope came down, braided, tied with the knot Helga called the Fisher's Mercy. Eric's hand touched Astrid's shoulder. Go, he said. She climbed, the rope steady in hands that knew her weight, and below the town breathed, as though history had already decided how this night would be written. Hooked? Hit like, drop a comment, share with your saga crew, and subscribe so you don't miss the moonrise at the West Wall in episode 6. What was your favorite moment of this episode? Tell me why in the comments, thank you. Brian M. Brumbaugh.